In March of 2024, I decided to put myself through a grueling 2 week challenge to completely cut out all sugar from my life. And I succeeded in that 2 week challenge. And in this video, I want to share with you what happened to me on that experience and what I did after, and just what happened to me when I completely quit sugar, whenever I completely stopped eating it, like how my body felt, the day by day sort of breakdown of what happened. And so that's why I'm making this video, because I think it's just an interesting experiment that people can run, and I think it's something that more people should try. But yeah, if you don't know me, my name is Keegan, and I talk about like diet and fitness and stuff, mostly just cutting out like bad foods from your life and just sharing my life experiences. And so yeah, if you want to hear more of that, then you should subscribe, do all like the YouTube algorithm stuff, because that would help me and be the best way you could support me. But yeah, anyways, here's what happened to me whenever I completely stopped eating sugar. Basically, basically for like 9 months now. I did it for 2 weeks, but then I came back to it about like 2 weeks later after that, after going kind of like flip flopping back and forth. But the first 2 weeks, this is what I want to talk to you about, is the first 2 weeks of just like at cold turkey, straight up no sugar. I went from about 100, maybe 50 to 100. I was starting to like decrease the amount of carbohydrates I was eating, but I went from basically like 100-ish, 50 grams of carbs with, X amount, variable amounts of sugar, right, to zero. Absolutely none. And so yeah, I quit eating fruit, I quit eating candy, I quit eating, like even like other starchy things like pasta and potatoes and stuff. I actually cut out pasta a while before that, but I stopped eating like fruits, candy, sugary things, honey, cut all that stuff out because I just wanted to see how I felt. And so the first thing that really happened to me whenever I cut out sugar was I lost a crap ton of water weight. And it was really weird because I was probably like 155 pounds at the time. I was honestly kind of bloated and watery, just just in general. And it was really weird because I never really experienced that before, but around that time I was really kind of watery and stuff. And within the first like 3 days, the first week, I dropped so much weight just from water. And it felt good because I was just lighter, more mobile. I just didn't feel as like slow because obviously I wasn't weighed down as much. So that was kind of interesting, but I wasn't dehydrated that much. Whenever I cut out the sugar, whenever I cut out the carbohydrates, I dropped a lot of water weight, but I wasn't like super dehydrated. My face just looked a little bit better. It wasn't like super like angular and like see my cheekbones or anything like that. It was just like it wasn't as like round. Believe it or not, like yeah, my face was rounder than this. um, yeah, my like just dropped the puffiness. My body just became less watery, and I didn't feel dehydrated. I didn't have the fatigue. I didn't have those sorts of things. I felt pretty good actually, just from losing that water weight. And yeah, that's the first thing that happened. The next thing that happened though, and this is a big one, is in that first week and a half, 2 weeks, my cravings for sugary things absolutely went through the roof because I wasn't satiating that like like drug-like compulsion to eat more sugar all of the time. I stopped doing that. I said, no, no more. And my body in turn was like, what are you doing? And it was kind of like if you imagine like a raging monkey in a cage, like, "Wah!" like screaming at me. It was really weird experiencing that because I was able to kind of like resist those cravings and be like, okay, like I'm doing this, I'm not gonna have it. but just feeling those cravings of just like it was some weird part of my brain, some weird like drugged like crack addict version of my brain being like, let me have some, like shaking on the the bars of the cage, dude. It was a really intense feeling, and I'm glad I finally got past that. But it was just really interesting to experience that, and just it made me realize how much of a like an addict I was to sugar and carbohydrates and that sort of thing. And I think that was a really valuable experience for me to just see what that did to me. Like just see that side of myself mentally. Because before it was kind of this like underlying feature, if that makes sense, this like underlying experience that I didn't know was there, and it was influencing my decisions. Like it would be like, oh, but you should have some more, cookies or whatever. You should have more fruit. You should have more of this sugary thing. And I just thought like, oh, I'm just gonna have some of this. But it was that drug like compulsion, that the crack addict version of me, just like being in control with the freaking levers, dude. And so yeah, I just think that was a super valuable experience to go through that and then come out of the other side of that without those cravings anymore. Like I just defeated that version of me. Like he's gone. But yeah, it's just like those cravings. They were big for a while, but then they just disappeared after I kind of got used to it, and I was like, "Whew, that's good." Glad I don't have that screaming voice like, "Hey, have sugar, have have drugs." Yeah, it's it was good. And I'm glad that I went through it, and I'm glad that it's gone now. But yeah, the next thing that happened to me though is I started getting a little bit more level energy. So I did cut out all carbohydrates, and it was kind of weird at first transitioning into a more like, because I started eating more protein and fat, right? So it was more fat adapted, and just transitioning into that was a little awkward, but honestly it didn't feel like crazy bad. Like some people will say like, oh, the keto flu is is like intense, and some people might experience like low energy, like, oh, this sucks, like keto flu sort of thing. I didn't really experience, like, I felt something. It felt different, but I don't think it was necessarily like low. It was just different. And I think as I've gotten used to that, it's just been like, this is the average state. I don't feel like I don't think I ever felt low, and I still don't feel really low unless I get like a bad night of sleep. It's just, I guess it's just a different energy source. I don't know. It's just it was it was a weird transition. But the great thing about this though is without eating sugar, I don't really get like the super highs and lows anymore. I used to a lot of times get like this really good sugar high, right? Like that's great, oh my gosh, I feel so like energized and awesome right now. Like like you can take over the world, but then like 10 minutes later, you're just like slumped. But that's not, I don't think that's a really great way to live, because you're just all over the place energy wise, and it's so unstable unless you're eating like carbs constantly, which sometimes I did, but I would always just kind of regret it afterwards and just feel bad. So, yeah, it's just the sugar highs and lows disappeared, and I just have a higher baseline and just a more steady energy curve. And that's what I really enjoy, is just having energy throughout the day. Like my energy is pretty dang consistent unless I've done like a big workout and I'm just kind of tired from that, or I've had a bad night of sleep or something like that. Then I'll have like low energy, but I mean that's kind of obvious. um but yeah, and the final thing that I'll talk about is what happened to me is I have the freedom from that drug like compulsion. So I already kind of talked about this with, I kind of defeated that crack addict version of me screaming in the cage, let me have some sugar. I got rid of that. And, you know, I remember a time whenever I still had that, that version of me, having the controller and stuff, and just eating one cookie after dinner or whatever, and just saying like, "Oh yeah, I'll have one cookie," and then 10 minutes later, half the cookie, I guess cookie jar is gone, right? Half of them are gone. Just just suddenly, after having one, it's just having this like constant compulsion. I'll have one, and then like 5 seconds later, you're like, you know what? I want to have some more, and it's that drug addict in you where you're like, yes, have more. Just lighting up the dopamine centers, and I'm glad that I'm free from that because I would always, always, always regret eating the cookies afterwards, eating the fruit afterwards. Like, some people, like, it's kind of understandable with like cookies, like, okay, yeah, it's, junk food, whatever. But I would do that with fruit too, like with pineapple in particular. I don't know what about it. It was just super easy to overeat for me. And it's the same feeling. I just felt like crap after eating it, and I wasn't gonna do some like weird crap, like like throw it up or whatever. So I just had to sit with that in my stomach and just feel like a piece of crap for a while. So it's like I'm glad that it's gone. I'm glad that I don't have to deal with that anymore, and that's why I would recommend quitting sugar to basically everyone to see how you feel and just experiment with it because I don't see a reason why you would want to keep going through it. I get, sugar, it can be stimulating, it can be tasty, it can be all those things, right? But at the end of the day, like, if you relate to what I've been saying in this, where you have like that, kind of like drug-like compulsion to have more and more, I just don't think it would negatively affect anyone to at least try it for like 2 weeks because that's what I did. I did end up going back for a little bit, having some like fruit and some like honey and whatnot for a little while, but then I just completely quit after that. I decided like, okay, I'm just gonna stick with this, and it's been a really beneficial decision in my life, and so that's why I would encourage anyone to try it out, just to see how it goes for them. Like you don't have to do it for long term. Just experiment with it and see how you feel. Kind of like I think the biggest experience that you can have from that is just experience the cravings. If you've been eating sugar for a while and then you just completely quit it, like go cold turkey, just experience the cravings and tell me that's natural. Tell me craving like sugary food is like a natural, it's meant to happen. That doesn't really make any sense to me. And so I would just I would just suggest that you try it and experience that because I don't think it's a normal thing, and that's kind of why I've quit sugar entirely, and I've been on this diet for like almost a year now of like no sugar. It's just because I don't think that craving is natural, that compulsion is natural. I don't think that's something that we're kind of like designed to do, if that makes sense, to be healthy anyways. So yeah, that's what I got. That's what happened to me whenever I stopped eating sugar. Try it out. See how you feel. If you like what I'm saying, you should go subscribe. If you want help on this journey, I'll be making a course soon on like how to quit junk food and all of that, and just to help someone else who's on this journey. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then go look in the links in the description and see if it's there. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.